The room was silent. 12 species watched the final results of the test. These were the wisest, oldest, and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had seen wars that burned stars, but today they had seen something that made them pause. A human survived the crucible. Not only survived, he laughed inside it. Counselor Drail, a cold-minded thinker from the Iceborn, stared at the screen. His species had lost 5 of their best minds in that test. All of them broke. What are they? He whispered. Ambassador Aisha Wren stood tall in the center of the chamber. She wore no armor, no weapon, just Earth's flag on her chest. Her voice was calm. You saw what we are. We are human. The council had gathered to give the final decision. They expected humans to score low like most young species. But what they saw in that simulation had shaken their beliefs. They watched a human named Elias Mercer face every fear. He lost his loved ones, saw his home burn. He felt pain so deep it should have destroyed him, but instead he smiled. He talked. He sang. He told stories to the empty room. He faced the end of everything and he kept going. The Viren speaker clicked its claws. That test was made to break a mind. Didn't fight it. He accepted it. Why? Aisha answered. Because that is who we are. We don't break easily. We bend, we hurt, we fall, but we always get back up. That's how we survived our world. It's how we survived the universe. Drell shook his head, but he laughed at death. Yes, Aisha said. Because we've met death before. On our world, death comes in every form. Storms, hunger, fire, disease, war. It came for us again and again. And still we built homes, wrote poems, danced in the rain, loved each other. We kept living, even when it hurt. The hall was quiet. Then Counselor Zarin, an ancient being made of light, spoke gently. He did not win the test by force. He won with heart. Another added he did not escape the fear. He walked with it. They showed one final recording. Elias inside the room, surrounded by fake corpses, fake flames, fake sorrow, all designed to crush him. He looked straight into the camera and said, Fear is a teacher. Pain is part of life. If I can feel it, that means I'm still here. It means I can still help someone else. So bring it. I've seen worse. Then he laughed. It wasn't the laugh of a madman. It was warm, brave, real. It echoed in every corner of the council hall. Some flinched, others smiled. He shouldn't have passed, one counselor muttered. No, said Zarin. He did, because the test was about surviving darkness, and they brought a light. The vote was called. 12 representatives cast their decision. Unanimous. For the first time in known history, species had passed all levels of the test. Counselor Drell stood and faced Aisha. Humans are dangerous, unpredictable. But you are also, new. You do not just survive, you endure. You don't fear the fire. You carry it with you. He paused. Then he bowed. The council welcomes humanity. Aisha bowed in return. We bring our best, sometimes our worst, but always our heart. As she left the chamber, the other ambassadors stared at the human flag. A species from a death world, a world that tried to kill them every day, a world that taught them to laugh at pain, to sing through fear, and to stand even when broken. And they realized something simple. Humanity didn't win because they were strong. They won because nothing could make them stop trying. The ice test had one rule. Survive for 48 hours on Frostworld, no help, no advanced tools, just basic gear and the worst cold in the galaxy. For over 3,000 years, no species had ever passed. Frostworld was not just cold, it was death in white. The planet was covered in snowstorms, icy winds, and deep freeze that could stop a heart in seconds. The Galactic Council used the ice test to judge a species, strength and adaptability. If you could survive here, you were ready to stand with the stars. But every attempt had ended the same way: failure and frozen bodies. The Braylocks. Strong and hairy beasts from the lava worlds had frozen in 10 hours. The Zentari, with wings and heated blood, had made it to 19 hours before their hearts slowed and stopped. Even the Reen, a species made of living crystal, cracked apart under the icy pressure. 50-3 species. 53 failures. Now, the 54th was ready. A small, strange group called Humans. Ambassador Gorvac of the Galactic Council stared at the large screen in front of him. It showed the human shuttle entering Frostworld's airspace. Madness, he muttered. Not built for this. Soft skin, weak bones, primitive minds. His aide, a thin alien with blue scales, nodded. They refused combat trials, refused psychic tests, said they wanted Frostworld. Gorvac's eyes narrowed. Why choose death? 3 humans were sent. That was the standard number. A woman, named Mira, the leader. Calm, clear voice. A young man, Dev, who smiled too much. And an old male, Eli, with gray hair and a wrinkled face. The council laughed when they saw the old one. What use was an elder in a test of survival? But the humans had arrived with no fear. They didn't brag, but they also didn't beg. When asked if they understood the risk, Mira had simply said, "Cold is just a problem. Problems can be solved." Now their small shuttle touched down on the icy surface. The temperature was already minus 61 degrees Celsius, and wind speeds reached 205 kilometers per hour. Humans have landed, said the council technician. Krell leaned forward. Prepare for the usual record time of death. But something was wrong. The humans stepped out wearing thick layers of cloth, not the glowing thermal armor other species had used. Didn't run or scream when the wind hit them. They laughed in the face of death. Through the camera, the council saw them start digging into the snow. What are they doing? Asked Gorvac. They're cutting the ice, replied the tech. Why? No one answered. For the next 2 hours, the humans worked in silence, carving large blocks of ice and stacking them in a circular pattern. One by one, the blocks formed walls, then a ceiling, then a tunnel-shaped entrance. Impossible, whispered Gorvac. They built a house from the very thing that kills. They're entering the structure now. Inside the dome, more movement began. Soon, small flickers of light appeared, orange and warm. Fire. The old man, Eli, held a metal pot over the flame. He scooped ice into it and waited. Steam began to rise. He's boiling water, said the tech, and adding dried leaves, added the aide. They're making a hot drink, Gorvac said, stunned. On Frostworld, the screen showed the 3 humans sitting close to the fire, sipping from metal cups, their faces relaxed. No fear, no panic, just calm. They didn't just want to survive, they came to live. And Frostworld was changing. The storm hit harder than ever. Frostworld screamed with frozen rage. The sky turned dark, snow fell sideways, and the wind roared like a beast. Any other species would have been dead already. Many had died with less, but the humans were still alive. Inside their small ice dome, the fire burned softly. The humans had thick blankets, hot drinks, and dry clothes hanging near the flames. They had created comfort in the middle of a killing storm. Ambassador Gorvac stood in the council observation deck, watching the live feed with disbelief. Hour 27, said the technician. Humans remain strong. Vital signs normal. They're not hiding, Gorvac said slowly. They're adapting. Inside the shelter, Mira was drawing on the icy wall with a piece of charcoal. What's she doing now? Asked Gorvac. She's making a plan, a storm chart. Wind flow patterns. Notes for tomorrow. You're the young man Dev was sharpening a piece of metal. He's building tools, the aide said, from crash parts and snow ice blocks. Then the elder Eli stood up and chuckled. Time to check the wall. He crawled out through the small tunnel and pushed snow against the outer wall of the dome, making it thicker. Outside, the temperature had dropped to minus 68 degrees Celsius. The storm would have killed most creatures in seconds, but Eli worked calmly, slowly, like he was just fixing a garden wall. He returned, shaking snow from his boots, and sat near the fire. Reinforced, he said simply, "Won't crack tonight." And then they passed hour 30. That was now the record. No species in history had lasted this long. Krelvic's voice was quiet. They should be freezing. They should be begging for rescue. But instead, Myra was pouring hot water into cups. Dev was making a second pot of soup. Eli was telling a story. The council chamber filled with silent watchers. More ambassadors joined. More species came to observe. A four-eyed alien named Savar hissed. "They must be cheating." "With what?" Krelvac asked. "No advanced tech, no armor, no heat suits, just fire, snow, willpower." The next morning, the storm stopped. Frostworld grew quiet as if confused. The humans stepped outside. The dome had held strong. Instead of resting, he started building another. "They're expanding," said the aide, voice shaking. Dev smiled and called it the guest house. Then they made a tool rack from frozen branches, hung their coats, made a windbreak wall to stop drifting snow. Hour 13:09. The fire now burned in both shelters. "We'll build a third tomorrow," Mira said, "just in case we need storage." Krelvac was no longer shocked. He was something else now. Respectful, curious, quiet. At hour 41, Mira activated her radio. "Hello, orbit station. Tea's hot. Storm past. Wind's light. Anyone want to come down and join us? Bring cookies." The council chamber went silent. Krelvac leaned toward the screen. "They're not just surviving. They're inviting others. They want company," said the aide, blinking. Krelvac took a deep breath. They turned death into warmth. Made the impossible normal. And the galaxy watched in awe. The humans didn't conquer Frostworld. They befriended it. And it seemed, for the first time ever, Frostworld accepted them. Frostworld was quiet. The wind had died down. The storm clouds had passed, but the galaxy held its breath. No one spoke in the Galactic Council chamber. Dozens of species watched the live feed in stunned silence. The humans were still alive, but more than that, they were thriving. Hour 43. Mira stood outside the igloo with her coat open, steam rising from her cup. She looked up at the sky and smiled. "I think we can do better," she said. "Better?" Ambassador Krelvac couldn't believe what he was seeing. "They want to improve their camp." Now, the technician nodded. "They've started drawing new plans." Inside one of the shelters, Eli used a stick to scratch lines into the snow floor. He spoke softly as he worked. "One dome for sleeping. One for cooking. One for supplies. And maybe one as a workshop." Dev was already stacking snow blocks nearby. "Let's get started," he said. By hour 45, there were 4 shelters. The new ones were smoother, rounder, stronger. The council chamber began to fill with sound, not laughter, not anger, just quiet. Ah, the humans had built a village. No species had ever done this. All others tried to fight Frostworld. The humans worked with it. Myra melted more ice on the fire and made more tea. "They have systems now," the aide whispered. "Shelters, fire, food, water, tools, rotating sleep schedules. They even take turns keeping watch." Krelvac shook his head. "They didn't wait to survive. They planned to stay." Hour 47. The humans weren't tired. They were energized. Eli repaired a crack in one of the older shelters. Mira boiled more water. Dev shaped snow into bricks faster than before. A group of children from the council school came in too. "Watch." One of them pointed to the screen. "Why are they smiling?" she asked. "Because," said Krelvac softly, "they're not afraid." Hour 47.5. The snow began to fall again. Gently this time. A soft white blanket. Dev stepped outside, looked around at their camp, and then turned to the sky. He laughed. "Guys," he called. "You know what we forgot?" "What?" Mira replied. He grinned. We forgot to name the place. Mira thought for a second. What about new warmth? Eli raised a brow. Too soft, Frostome Dev offered. They all agreed. The name was strong, fitting Frostome. A place that was never supposed to exist. A place no species had ever earned. Until now. Back on the council station, Sivar, the four-eyed alien, stood in protest. This is not survival. This is cheating. Gorvac turned slowly. Oh, this is something you don't understand. This is human. They don't just fight nature, they build in it, live with it, make it better. They're still using simple fire and tools. And that's the point, Gorvac snapped. They didn't bring weapons. They didn't hide. Behind machines, they used their hands, their minds. Their courage, he pointed at the screen. They are not just alive. They've created a home, and they want to share it. That's what makes them worthy. Hour 48. The alert sounded. In the chamber, test complete. Humans have survived. Confirmed. The room was silent for a long moment. Then applause. Quiet at first, then growing. Strong. Real. On Frostworld, Mira looked up at the sky again. She clicked on the radio. To the council above, she said, "We're still here. We built something good. We're not done yet."